This tutorial is how to make the Glamour bracelet. It's brought to you by Helen O'Connor. You can make the wonderful Glamour bracelet with the beautiful, look at the shine on that gemstone cabochon there, that is magnificent. Or it will actually make the continuous Glamour bracelet, or indeed you can make the both, and they would sit together very, very nicely like that. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, we need to talk about eyewear. So that's what I'm going to wear today. These are Boule safety glasses. We're dealing with long wires, so I would always say please protect those eyes. If you're wearing ordinary glasses, that's fine also. And the wires we're using today, we've got it's a 0.8mm wire, and we've got 34 centimeters for 8 wires, so that's the 8 wires. Then we've got a further 66 centimeters of 2 wires, so we've got 10 wires in all, and they're bundled up together. On one end I've come in about 1.5 inches from the bottom, and we've got just a piece of wire there wrapped around just to secure them in place. A little pinch with the old pliers to keep them happy, and if you want to, you can continue just to wind that around there to make them further secure. So we're going to pop that in our vise. Now this vise is the Dremel vise. I do like using this vise is because one of the reasons is it has nice soft mandrels there where you're actually sitting in your the vice clamp section are nice and soft, so they won't actually break the wires. So if you've got a hard vise, a metal vise, all you need to do is make sure you've got a bit of sponge either side of those wires, and that's sitting in there quite nicely. The next thing I need to do is start to open out my wires. So let's have a look. We've got the 2 longest ones we want, so let's separate those out first, and we want to maneuver them so that they are sitting together across on their own there. So they're the first 2 longest wires. Then we separate the rest of the wires out, see where they're sitting and who they're sitting alongside, and pair those off. So we'll end up then with 5 pairs of wires. They look quite happy sat there. Now we're going to do the placement of the wires. So your first set of wires go to the back, then the next set come down, next set up, next set down, and your last pair go to the back. So we've got 3 at the top and 2 down the bottom. Now what we're going to do is take our longest wires, the first set, and we're just going to bring them across the centre to the other side, and then we're going to take a first downward set and bring that up and across, go to the next set, which is the upper set, and bring it down, go to the middle set, bring those up, and the last set and bring them down. So all you're doing is going back and forth along those wires, up and down over those wires, and then the eye set, the last set, just bring to the back. And then you have again, we're back in our position. Now for this one I'm going to continue with the movements we're going to use all the way through. So now I'm going to go to the right hand side, the longest wires again, and I'm going to bring those back over to the right. So all I've done is bring them now from one side straight through the middle and over there, and now we need to anchor these in place. So the first set up, second set down, we're just moving along our wires, middle up, middle down, and again I go home. And we say I go home because this set here now is back in its original position where we first started at the very beginning. And again now we can start that one again, and it's starting to build up already. So we're going to make sure our wires sit alongside each other when we bring them over, so they're coming through the centre, pair up and over, middle pair down, next one's up, next one's down, and then this one goes back home. Now you can see that each pair, they actually sit alongside each other, which sit alongside the next pair. You don't want big gaps, because then you're going to have large gaps in your in this particular design. In some designs that we actually want to put those gaps in, but in this one we want a really nice tight gap there. Right, okay, and we're going to go back over again. So to the right, from the right to the left now, we're coming over. So we're bringing those wires over again for the last time. And what you will see is the centre, so just tightening those wires across, tightening that centre wire, putting it in position. And what you will see, if I just open up a bit, you can see like an S shape going on. And that's what you want for this particular design. And I go home. So they're all back now in their starting positions. Now is the time that we're going to add our first bead. So we're going to separate out the first pair. These are the longest pair, and coincidentally these are the ones that will be always manoeuvring back and forth, so that's why we need that extra length. The first one of the pair I'm bringing over quite tightly across the centre on its own this time, and with the other one I'm adding my bead. In this case I've got these gorgeous crystals, which are perfect for 0.8 wire. It's got to travel quite a way down that wire, so it's going to take a little time to reach you. There we go. And then what we're going to do, this wire needs to meet the other side, so we're going to hold on to our crystal, and as I bring it over I'm going to sit it up, because I want this crystal to sit up on its end, so it's actually sat in that position. In other designs you can have them at an angle, and that looks really lovely as well, but in this particular position we just want to bring him over and he's sat like that. I'm going to bring in my flat nose pliers. I'm just going in and I'm just very gently pinching the top and the bottom of that crystal, making sure that that wire is firmly in position. And I'm going to start again. So from this side, where we've added our bead, is the side that we will start our run. So our first braiding run, so I'm not doing anything different. I'm going back along the line, bringing them back and forth over that centre piece there, that centre wire. And when I get to this side, I'm going to separate these two out, bring the first one over, and that, bring the first ones over, and that'll meet with the crystal on this side. And I'm going to add now a crystal to this one. So just popping him on the end there, takes a little while to come down. Again, I'm bringing him just slightly away from the end of the wires. I'm holding him, and as it's twisting, I'm bringing him up. Now that wasn't quite where I wanted him, so I just go back, and that's perfect. I'm going to go in again, and I'm just going to check that that wire is firmly securing that crystal top and bottom. And now we're going to start from this side, going back and forth with the last crystal we added. So we're just going to take those two wires over, and this is where now structure starts to come, and you will feel that it's much firmer to handle, and you'll feel much more in control of your wires. So there we go, there's that one. I'll do one more. So we need the top one comes over to meet the crystal. We add our crystal. Just wait for it to come down. There we go. Again, I'm going to take my crystal back from the wire a bit. I'm holding it with my thumb and forefinger, and I'm just holding it while I bring the wires up and over and let them sit on each other. There's a gap in there, and that gap I'm just fitting in, and I'm just taking those wires as close as I can to that crystal to secure it in place. The next thing we do, can you see there's like a little arch there? I'm just going to put my nail in there to bring that arch slightly lower before we start our braiding again. So I'm going to braid up, down, up, down, and up. Now, when you've done this 7 times on one side and the other, so you're going back, so it's 14 all together. So we started off here and we've gone to this one and we're moving all the way up. So when you've got 7 on one side and 7 on the other, we're now coming to the exciting bit, which is adding in your cabochon. Now this is a brand new technique, and I'll hopefully demonstrate it as best as I possibly can. But that's what we're actually looking to achieve. I don't know if we can get that in shot. Let's see if we can just pop that on and get that in shot so we can see what we're actually aiming for. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're back in the starting position. Now we are up to here. So we've done all these crystals back and forth, and we're up to here. Now we just need a little gap to allow the petals and allow the cabochon to sit. So we're going to just go back and forth 3 times like we started at the very beginning. So again, we just take the first, we're on this side, the longest ones. We bring those over, secure those wires down, back, forth, back and forth, bring the wires back across, back and forth, 2 or 3 times until you think that's enough room between your crystals and your start of your cabochon. I'm actually going to do one more. I'm going to bring that over once more, so I've done it 3 times, and you can see that S shape going through the middle there. Can you see the S shape? That's what we're aiming for. Okay, so now we're going to start to make our petals. So I usually, you can measure it if you want to. So we're going to come out, we'll say, if we say about 3 centimetres. So we're going to come out 3 centimetres, and that's where we want our turn to be. So to turn, you can use pliers if you wish, and we're just bringing those wires back up and across as we did before, but this time, instead of bringing them tight into the wires, we've allowed ourselves 3 centimetres, and then we continue as we did before to braid. Now you may have to hold the first wires in place to bring it, because it hasn't got the crystal to lean against, and you just bring your wires across there. And again, we want 3 centimetres on this side, and we're going to pop our pliers in. Any pliers really will work for this until they about match. I think that's about right there. And again, we're going to secure these petals now just by bringing the wires back and forth. Now this does actually work better with 2 wires on for each section, because it gives it more security to hold that cabochon in place. Now on the next middle set of wires, we want them slightly longer, so we're just going to go for a 4, which is just slightly longer, and we're going to pop our pliers in again, and we're going to bring that in and back and forth again. So front, always start at the bottom, the next ones come over from the top, and you will find that your wires now are starting to get smaller, which will help, and you feel more in control. So just show you there, that's where we are there. And this side now we're going to do the same. So we want 4, which is just about there, and you bring those across, and again secure, up, down, up, down, up, down, and up. Okay, now by this stage your longest wires will be not far off the same as everybody else's, but that's how it should be, so it's not a problem. And now we're going to go back to the 3, so I'm just going to line it up with this bottom one here, because we want it now as a 3. Just going to, what I'm going to do now is just drop it down slightly so that you can see a bit more clearly. It'll just disappear in there. Okay, so that's where we are so far. So we're going to do the next ones, put the next ones in place. So we want a petal now this side, so we just come in and just, you can measure him up, or just measure him from the last petal across the middle, back and forth to secure that in place, and you'll feel the security there is really strong. And our very last one, which will be that size petal, again on this side, so we're going to come in about there, secure that in place, and you can see we've got these 3 here. And then to secure even more, I'm just going to continue a minute, and we're going to go back and forth across there. We're going to bring that one back, so all I'm doing now is the free movement, so I'm just securing what we have in place there, and also, to be honest, so you can see a bit better. And our last one back over, so just going back and forth. So we've got our 3 again. So you can see now I've got 3 there. I've got my 3 petals there, which are doubles up in wires, and 3 there. This is where we look at our cabochon. So we get our cabochon and we have a little look, and he's going to sit lovely about there. And all we need to do now is separate out these wires. So we take this first one here at the bottom, and we're going to bring him forward, and that one forward. Doesn't matter if they've overlapped a bit and they've twisted a bit, that really doesn't matter. So just so you can see. So at this stage, if you wanted to go in, you can actually just go in and you can tidy up your braid, but I usually leave it till after, till the whole thing is done, and then you just go in with your pliers and just sort of even things out that you need to. So don't worry about that too much. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go right to the heart there, right to the center of my petal, and I'm twisting. I'm holding the wires just to give me something to stabilize my hand on, and all I'm doing is twisting that petal, and I keep twisting and twisting that petal all the way to the end like so. It's a nice little twist there going on. So there's one done. We're going to separate out these here and do another one. So I'm just going to twist in there, take my pliers in as close as I can to that bottom piece and twist, and you just keep twisting. And I wouldn't worry too much if your twist does go off. You'll have more time than me to play around with it a bit and mess around with it a bit, but don't worry too much. And we're going to go to the last one at the top there, and again just start your twist, and we're just going to twist those wires all the way around. Keep twisting, twist, twist, twist. There we go. So that's that side done. So I'm just going to start this side. So I'm just going to go in and twist with my fingers, just because I'm right-handed, so I do find it difficult to do the left side, to twist the left side. So there you go. So you can see I'm a little bit not quite so good at twisting this side, but it doesn't notice on the final piece. So if you're the same as me and you're not very good with your left hand, or even vice versa, don't worry. So I'm just going to go in again and twist that one, and keep twisting it and twisting until we have it twisted all the way along that petal. So that's number 5, and the last one, I can see that there's a small one in the back there, so I'm going to pull that one through, and that's the one I'm going to twist, so we can still got our nice petals to look at, because these will be too long anyway, so it's fine. So let's just keep twisting, get my grip a bit better if I can on this side, until you've got 6 petals twisted and 6 petals not twisted. I'm going to test my cabochon again, that it sits in there nicely, and it really does. Now the orientation now we're looking at, do we want it to go that way or do we want it to go that way? And I'd like it to go that way, so I'm just checking now that each is long enough to take that, and it is. It's in the center of the central point of my bracelet, so that's perfectly fine. I'm going to just hold it there with my finger a second, and because we are working on our flower bit, don't be afraid to just move the petals out the way, because we're going to maneuver them around anyway. So if they're in the way, don't worry about it. So I want it to go like that. So I'm going to bring the top one up first and just see where he sits. Oh, he sits lovely there. And I'm going to make my first cut. I'm not going to make my final cut. I'm just going to make my first cut, because you might want to go back in and change some orientation around. Then I'm going to do this bottom one here. So we got a good grip there, and again I'm going in, but maybe not my final one. I'm going to go to this top one here, just going to roll these in onto the cabochon so it captures it a bit to help me. I could do with a little bit more with this one, so all I'm going to do is go in and twist a bit more. If you remember, I was a little bit short with this petal, so he needs a little bit more there just to help me. And if you wanted to do shorter ones, you can see that that would be quite a nice finish on there as well with that little bubble. But I'm going to just pop that off and bring him to the centre there. Okay, and then this one down, the last corner one down, bring that one up. At this point you can see that it's much more secure, you can feel it's secure. And to do my cut, my first cut, and bring those in. Actually, let's have a look what you can see, but I quite like that. Now that feels very secure, so you could actually, if you wanted, leave it at 4 if you've done a really secure, a very tight tension piece. You could actually leave it at that, but I'm going to, for safety, put in these extra ones. So I'm just going to bring these up from the bottom there and pop that off, and from the other side here and pop that one off. Now that is quite tight, so I'm going to go in with this. I'm quite happy with this. If you need to go in and cut them, make them shorter, you can. If you want to curl them under more to give more tension against the cabochon, if your wires are not, the tension's not that strong on your wires, you may have to go in and just roll the little prongs onto cabochon. But I'm really happy with that, so I'm going to leave it at that. So now I'm going to look at the petals themselves. I like a little bit of definition to my petal, so I'm going to open him up. And you can use anything you like. You can use your round nose, your flat nose, and just give them a little bit of twist in and a twist out, and you can see a sort of a shape develop. And you can decide then what shape you'd like. So I'm just going to go in, open them up, ready, and then I'm going to go in and do a little wiggle there and in and back, and you will see this petal like shape emerging, and that's the type I'm going to have on there. And there's lots of different, when you play with your pliers on there, you'll get lots of different sort of shapes and all sorts appearing, so have a little play with that and see what suits you. And once you've done these petals, of course, all I'm doing there, is opening them out like that. That's all I'm doing there. And once you have your shapes and your petals, don't forget you could actually fill the void space, or the creative inner space. So this is your creative inner space, this hollow bit. So if you think of it like that as your creative inner space, you could actually then go in and add, you could add some little seed beads, you could add some bigger beads. There's lots of variations you could add to this to make it your own. And I think I'm about right there, to be honest. And I'm feeling happy with that. You can carry on fiddling after you've done it as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is just show you now to continue to add. So we did 3 just basic wire wraps up to the where the cabochon starts and the flower starts. Then we've done 3 after to secure that flower in place. And now I'm just opening my wires back up again. So I've got the 3 at the top, 2 down the bottom, exactly the same. Take my very first wire and bring that across the centre to secure it, pop my bead on, and coming back to the centre, and I'm bringing my wires up and down exactly the same to secure everything back in place. And on this side I'm doing the same again, bringing my wires over, popping my bead, holding it, popping it on, going in with my pliers, just making sure that wire is flat enough there to take the first set of wires, up and down, back and forth, across. So I'm just going to show you that, lift those up and show you. And so really now everything's secure in place. That cabochon's really not going anywhere, it's solid in there. And I'm going to continue with that, with adding those crystals, and that's how you get that. Okay, so we're going to show you now how to finish off the ends. So there we go. So once everything's done and everything's in place, just remove your piece, and this will be obviously seven crystals long, and you just remove the end there. I'm just going to cut off my twisted wire there, and then that releases the tension and you can bring the wire across. Your cabochon will actually sit very low in below your line. Here I will have to just see where it will fit there. No, that's fine, but because you've got the 7 crystals on either side, you will actually find that it'll sit much lower in your vise, so you won't have any trouble there at all. So on the ends, all I've done is open them out, On the other end you may still have your 2 wires slightly longer, where you'd go in and just snip those off. If you needed to add a wire, you would literally just add a wire. So if you are doing a piece and it's not quite long enough, you would literally just pop a wire in, bring it up, bring the little stalk behind and cut that off later. It's as easy as that. I have got a tutorial on adding wires somewhere, so we'll hunt that one down. So we've got all our wires now paired up again, and all we do here is, you see me do it lots of times, I'm sure, if you follow me, is my thumb over my finger, and I always do the same motion every time, so that when you're on the more intricate pieces, you know exactly which way you've twisted your wires, and oh, it really does help. And I'm going to go to the end there and twist, and you can see there's a really nice twist. So I've taken them equidistant apart, I've gone in through the center, I've got my thumb in the middle there, and I've just anchored those 2 wires between thumb and finger. I'm twisting, and sometimes you'll see that I stroke the wires as I come up, just to check they're in the position that I want them to be. And by bringing your thumb down the center reminds you that you need equidistance apart, and that you need those wires to twist together like that. So you continue along the others, and you just keep going like that. No problems, just keep twisting. You'll find it so easy as you go along. So once you've done them all you need to do then is let's have a look. Let's do 3 centimeters. So we're going to come in at 3 centimeters, and we're going to snip them all off. So they'll all be twisted now. I'm going to snip them all off. Then all you do is you bring your wires around. Can you see what I'm doing? Bringing them down and around. First one down, the next one down, and this middle one I'm just going to finish off because I want to show you what I do with the middle one. The middle one becomes part of the clasp in this particular design, so I'm just going to do a quick twist. I'm going to take it to about 3 centimeters. Now the middle one I take right up to the very beginning of my pliers, the very widest part, and I roll from there. and that's because I want a nice big gap, and I roll it forward as the others will roll to the side. And if, like me, it's sort of come apart a bit, just go in and give it a little bit of a squish and it will bring itself back together. So I've got that one facing forward. I'm then going to go back to these side bits and roll those in like this. And that's all I'm doing is rolling. Now these are 0.8 wires, doubly thick, so you will need a little bit of manoeuvrability. Don't be afraid just to grab them. You can see this wire is really good, and I've not needed the spongy pliers, but if your wires do flake, just go for the ones that are wrapped in the plastic or the foam. And so basically that's where we are there. So we've twisted them all down into like that. Let me show you like that so you can see. So basically you've twisted them all down into there, and can you see there? So this one, I'm just moving around so you can see, is where the actual clasp goes through. So the actual, let me hold it like that so you can see, there we go. So the actual clasp goes through the centre of that middle one. There, you can see that now. So it anchors on the middle one, and then it goes through onto the other one. And all that is a bit of twisted wire. So twisted the wire, this bit was left over from the ones we just did, and all I did was twist around like that, cut off one end, give myself a little type of jump ring at one end to attach in. I've just brought it down and around and up and over to make a nice little basic clasp there. Gone a little bit too wild, so just bring him back. Snip off the edge straight. I've snipped it off straight. If you've got the wire little tool, a little file, just to file off there, you just file off the end just to make sure it's not sharp, then that would attach to there quite easily enough, and then the other side would become the hole. And hopefully you really enjoy wearing it, or the other one, the beautiful straight one there. And I look forward to speaking to you again and showing you some more tutorials. So for now, thank you, bye.